Heretical Fishing is a fantastic example of a cozy slice of life fantasy series, and I highly recommend that everyone checks it out. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and today we are talking about the series Heretical Fishing by Haylock Jobson. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am under the impression that it is an Australian name, so who knows? Well, that sounded pretty ignorant. My apologies to all of Australia. I meant no offense. Getting over to the series itself, Heretical Fishing is a great slice of life and a cozy novel or series to jump into. I'm going to go ahead and start with a semi-spoiler free review, so let's jump into things. Our main protagonist, Fisher, a pseudonym slash now his real name, is a semi-disgraced son of a recently deceased billionaire, and he has inherited all of his wealth and his companies. And he had trained his entire life to take over the business, and he realizes that the practices that they involve themselves with are not all copacetic. They're not underboard, but at the same time, he realizes that profit is the main concern of the shareholders, and they do not care who gets stepped on the way to increasing those said profits. This is a moral conundrum for Fisher to realize, and he decides to basically step down, which no one ever expected. And he's trying to lead a life that is much more quiet and away from the spotlight. That is until he has a very interesting meeting with an entity that we all know about in the isekai space, known as Truckun. Let's just say the meeting was short, brief, and to the point, and Fisher is then transported off to a new world where he has to realize that yes, his old life is done, but this might be a fantastic opportunity to enter a world where he's no longer the center of attention, at least for the beginning. Now, Fisher is a very intelligent man, but he wants a simple life like I stated earlier, and his goal is to spend it fishing, obviously. That's the name he decided to choose, and that is the profession he decides to follow. And the only quirk in his plan is this new world decides that fishing is a heretical activity and looked very much down upon due to their own reasons. Now, I'll go ahead and stop my description there. I hope I piqued some of y'all's interest if you have not checked this series on out, but it is very, very well done. My goodness. Haylock Jobson did a great job with character development, did a great job with painting the scenery and world building, did a phenomenal job when it comes to the cultivation aspect of it, because this is a blend of cultivation and lit RPG, and Fisher's decisions on how to view the system in this case is very interesting, and I can't say I've seen it a lot. But that is enough information. I don't want to spoil the entire series. Currently there are 2 books out on Audible and 3 books out on Royal Road. I'm not sure if it is intended to be a 3-book series. I couldn't find a definitive answer with my 3 minutes of Googling before this video. You can tell I put a lot of effort into the research. But if someone does know, feel free to jump in the comments and let me know. I'm very excited for book 3 to come to Audible, seeing as I just finished book 2, and it was fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the pro, and with that, y'all get a better sense of what to expect when you do pick up this series. First and foremost, the main pro that I'm going to go with is the characters and their development. I love almost all of these characters. They each bring something new to the table, whether it is our main protagonist, Fisher himself, having to reorient himself and try to steer his mind away from that business tycoon to just a regular guy trying to live his life and do right by his friends, whether it's Maria, the potential love interest, or potential, well, she's a love interest. That's a spoiler. I'll just give that right there. Or Barry, his friendly neighborhood neighbor, who is trying to put away his preconceived beliefs about the heretical aspect of fishing and try to accept Fisher as a friend, since he's done nothing but kindness to him and his own, and just so many other characters that I won't jump into, but they are all so well defined and they do a great job to really push the story forward. My con for this series, and for lack of a better term, there is a whole lot of food talk. The food scenes, and it's a book about fishing, they're going to talk about food, are very, very descriptive, almost overly so. I thought a couple times during a few of the meals that, okay, yes, we get it, you know, I'm sure this fish tastes absolutely phenomenal, but I don't need all these descriptors. So again, that is an entirely small gripe. You know, it's not like in every chapter they're talking about how good something tastes or how terrible something tastes. It was just, I was looking for a con, and it was something that I did notice, especially so in the second book. So if that's your jam, then go ahead and spread it on the bread. But, you know, I guess it's not for me. My final pro for this series is the great animal pals that Fisher makes along the way. It is going to show that these magical beasts that he's able to befriend really do add to Fisher's experience there, and they view him as a friend, as a father figure, as a mentor to some degree, because through his cultivation of fishing, he becomes very, very powerful. At least that is what we can hope so in comparison to the people he surrounds himself with. It was a great read. I cannot wait for book 3. I'm so excited to check it on out. I believe Heath Miller was the narrator for this series, and he's done a phenomenal job so far. He does always fantastic work. He's also very well known for He Who Fights with Monsters. A great job on his as well as the author's job to really bring us such a cozy slice of life journey that we're getting to see here. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump to the deep dive. For y'all updated to the end of book 2, feel free to continue watching the video. I'm going to be talking about some of the characters, going to be talking about some of the similarities between this and another series that is very close to my heart, and whatever else pops into my head. So with that said, if you have not checked this series out, I recommend jumping in the comments, leaving your thoughts on whether or not you will pick it on up, some other recommendations for some other series that you may have that would be a great review for this channel, or just, you know, general stuff. How you doing? You doing okay? I hope you're doing good. With that, let's jump to the deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Here is where I talk some of the spoilers as well as some things that I noticed throughout the series, or comparisons that I want to make, or whatever really pops into my head when I'm talking. So the first thing that I want to mention is I thought it was a great idea for Fisher to not want to be affiliated with his own church. This was a completely reasonable and almost expected decision from what we've learned about Fisher in the first book. And to be quite candid, if I was in Fisher's shoes, I would hope I would do the same thing. I assume this stems from his past life where he was in charge of these multi-billion-dollar companies and wanting to escape that and doing just so right before he passed away from Truck-kun. And now he's basically being put on, if not the same pedestal, a very similar one to his friends, which is definitely an uncomfortable feeling. You know, having what you would assume is these great friendships where Fisher views them all as equals, but they view him as something above themselves. And that would be an uncomfortable feeling, I believe, for anybody out there, but especially for Fisher in this case. So I thought it was a really, really awesome idea for him wanting to step back and not be affiliated with the church. Though in book 2, we get to see that some of their machinations he has to be made aware of. So I was waiting for them to say something along the lines of, this would be Barry speaking in this case, Fisher, if you want to know something, ask the question and I'll tell you. If you don't want to know something, then don't ask. And I think something along those lines might need to be stated for Fisher to maintain his distance from this organization, though at the end of the day, when you're the messiah, it's going to be difficult. So just love that decision on the author's behalf. Another thing that I'm going to go ahead and jump into is this series has a lot of similarities to another great series out there that I hope y'all checked out, Beware of Chicken. It's a similar basis, it's an isekai. The main characters don't want to go the regular old cultivation route. One wants to just go ahead and farm, one wants to go ahead and fish. Through their journey, they're receiving this intense power from the world or the system around them through their actions of not just taking, but also giving back to the community, to the land, to their friends and family, and they've got a bunch of animal pals running around and getting more powerful themselves. So many great similarities between these series, and I don't know if the author of Heretical Fishing had taken some inspirations from Beware of Chicken, because I believe that series came out first. If I'm mistaken, then you have my apologies. So maybe vice versa. Even though they share so many similarities, both of them have their own characteristics and flavor to each, to where none of the characters are exactly the same. Each aspect of the journey is definitely within its own context. You get a much more of a Eastern feeling to Beware of Chicken and much more of a Western vibe to Heretical Fishing. And there is a lot of differences there that really add to each series in itself. I cannot wait for both the next books for each of these series to come on the way to Audible, and I hope y'all feel the same. If you've not checked out Beware of Chicken and you like this series, then what are you doing? Click off the video. You don't need me anymore. I just pitched you on it. Finally, I want to bring up a decision that I'm trying to make. I'm going to make here on the spot, which is my favorite one of Fisher's animal pals. See, my first decision is Claus, right? And I think I'm going to go with Claus. And for one specific reason. Whenever you get the inner monologue of Claus, she always gives herself 2 to 3 self-identifying traits, and they're always changing, whether she's the protector of the forest, the vanquisher of the birds, or the best friend or furriest friend of Fisher. It's always such an entertaining moment to see what she's recently captured her attention and what the curiosity of an otter could potentially be like. So that's going to wrap up my deep dive. I hope each of y'all have a phenomenal rest of your week, and be sure to keep reading.